like to join us in that pledge of allegiance, please do so. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll call this meeting to order. Becky, if you'll take roll.
Mayor Smith.
Present.
Alder Billiard. Present. Alder Hill.
Present.
Alder Keene.
Present.
Alder Lancaster.
Present.
Alder Matheson.
Present.
Alder Wilson.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
All right, fantastic. Wes, any amendments to the agenda?
Just a couple. I had some treatment last week, so I'm afraid it wasn't my sharpest. We need to add a closed for personnel and illegal for a quick update. Number 7 will be considered as an ordinance. And then the financial reports are actually for April, not for May. We won't do May financials until back.
All right, everybody's had a chance to look at the, actually, can we get a motion for approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the adjustments made by Wes.
Second.
We have a first and second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Alder Billiard.
Yes.
Alder Hill.
Yes.
Alder Keene.
Yes.
Alder Lancaster.
Yes.
Alder Matheson.
Yes.
Alder Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Next item's the consent agenda. Everybody had a chance to review it? Any questions on the consent agenda?
One question I had, I saw that we had paid the Tyler annual fees, and I knew that we had not been real happy with Tyler, so I'm just checking that status.
We've got a bid out for new software,
Okay,
so we're looking at maybe doing something new.
okay, I just knew that they were an issue when we first
They
implemented it.
still are.
Okay, I was just checking.
If nothing else, we have a motion regarding the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that. I have a first and a second. Alder Billiard.
Yes.
Alder Hill.
Yes.
Alder Keene.
Yes.
Alder Lancaster.
Yes.
Alder Matheson.
Yes.
Alder Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item, are there any current or outstanding invoices, drafts, or checks paid invoices?
Nothing need to consider.
Okay, nothing to consider. Next section is citizen input. If anybody would like to step forward and provide any input, declarations, opinions, anything of that nature, please do so. We just need your name and your address. Anybody? See no one, I'll close that section. Next item is the Presidential Fitness Award presentations by Chief McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Board. So tonight, we're going to recognize 5 students from our district here who signed up for the Willard Powell boxing program. We told them in the beginning that if they participated at the level of, I think it was 95%, which is you come to all the training, your attitude's right, your participation is right, you only miss 2 of the 16 trainings, you're eligible, that's right, eligible for a Presidential Youth Fitness Award. And so there were 9 students who functioned to that capacity. They didn't just learn the sweet science of boxing, they also learned something about survival. One of our fights from that evening demonstrates this, and I'd like our city administrator to cue that up at this time. fraction of the first second, I was very concerned because Luna, the young boxer in the red headgear, I could tell that she was throwing her punches with the weight, the full weight of her body behind every single punch. And I was concerned that Leah, a smaller framed pugilist, would not be able to manage it. And there was only one way that she would be able to manage it, and that was to fight from a tight guard and throw straight shots. So she recognized that when Luna was throwing those wild looping punches, there was a period of a fraction of a second where she was exposed. Pop, 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 pop. She scored, she scored, she scored. When that fight was over, the crowd was on their feet, and I was very proud. The next day, went to visit the other party just to make sure that she understood that styles make fights, and Luna's style, in comparison to Leia's style, was such that it rose to the level of being the fight of the night. So we were so proud. At this time, I'm going to call up our boxers who won the Presidential Youth Fitness Award, Madison Aldrich. Madison Aldrich. Yeah. Stand this way. Is that you're going for a hug? Just in case. Jace Brown. You'll face this way. Oh, these old hands. Marshall Lampy. When Marshall Lampy learned that these old presidential fitness awards that I ordered back in the 2012s were signed by Barack Obama, he wondered if it would be okay. No, really, rather, he had the audacity to ask if he could send that to President Trump and ask to get another copy of Fresh.
Way to go, Marsh.
Leah Pridemore. Yeah. Leah is the young lady in the blue helmet that you saw fight just a minute ago. So could you guys scoot down just a tiny little bit? There you go. Good, right there. And Sam Stewart. Come on. Did very well. So these are the winners of the Presidential Youth Fitness Awards. Congratulations. You guys might want to sit and watch the whole meeting as it unfolds, or you may prefer to step outside for a group picture with your family. It's up to you. What do you want to do? Okay, picture. Come on.
Good job, guys. All right, next item we have is a project manager report on the sanitary sewer status update. assume that's you, Steve, or?
Yeah, it is.
That was my assumption.
As I previously reported, Alger Martin has submitted the construction permit documents to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources and gave response to their comments. At the time I wrote this, it was not clear about the issuance of the permit. Since then, we have verified we've received the permit, so we have complete construction authority from MDNR for the upgrades of 94 lift station and the force main replacement all the way to its connection to City Spring. In addition, the rest of the permits have been approved. Greene County Environmental, city utilities, except we've got a little gas line issue to work out with them on a 2-inch gas line. We're negotiating a cost to relocate that gas line. Department of Transportation is approved, Greene County Highway Department, Corps of Engineers came back and said they don't require a permit, and the City of Springfield Environmental Services has granted the approval of continuing authority. So all of our paperwork requests are now filled, we're ready to move forward. We also submitted our third partial progress payment to Region 7 of the EPA. And this has been a little discussion over the last few months about those funds being frozen. At the time I wrote this, I said we're awaiting a response. Since then, I've talked to the contact in Kansas City with Region 7 of EPA. She said acknowledges the receipt, and she said she'll process it this week. So that's optimistic at this point. They're going to process and then say no, there's nothing available. So we'll wait her processing that and find out for sure we've got the funds awarded so we can transfer it. That will complete our request for engineering costs on the project. Of course, the big ones to come are going to be construction. And next board meeting, I'll more than likely have a request for the board to authorize the advertisement for bids in the 94 upgrades and enforcement. Get that job out on the street and see what we come back with. Surveyors are working on temporary construction easements. Again, those are not required for the pipeline route. They're required for us to be able to, as I say, put an outrigger down on somebody's private property or stage materials. So I'll be working on acquiring those temporary easements over the next week or so. But this does not prevent us from going to bid with it. On the Meadows connection, the issue of the easements with the family trust has been partially resolved, and revised trust certificates with indicating successor trustees have been created. 2 of the 3 successor trustees have signed the revised easement documents that include the trust as them. We're awaiting action by the 3rd trustee. He's dragging his feet a little bit, and I'll have a little discussion about that for you in the public street later this week. Other than that, we're at the point here we're ready to go to the street and see what our 94 project kind of back in on cost. And then we'll move forward on this Meadows thing after we discuss it a little bit on easements. That's all I've got. Roy, if you got questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay, thank you, Steve. All right, next item is a proposal for the interior entry door for the Willard Police Department.
Right now, this is just a proposal that's been submitted by DH Overhead Door, and they're working in partnership with an access control company. The door on the interior of the police department is not very secure. There's a gap about wide between the door on the jamb. And quite had to stay shut, but some had to stay shut. So we had them come out, they worked on this ADA door at the front, we had some issues with our front door, and in doing so they offered to quote that door as well, and this is what they presented. Part of this quote for the access control piece does allow upgradability as we enhance the building over there. It does carry with it a multi-year contract. So right now we're just kind of looking to see if that's something you guys think would be worth doing or waiting on before we proceed any further. Holly pointed out some issues with some of the language that we need to revisit, but we don't want to do that unless there seems to be some general support at the door looked at. That's really what it is at this stage.
How long is the quote good for? I noticed that it was originally proposed back in November.
They did say they may have to revisit some things with the tariffs going into effect.
I did see that in there.
Yeah, so they warned us, when we get ready to execute, they will come back and just kind of let us know. They don't anticipate it going up hugely, but they do anticipate a rise. Yes. So seeing no concerns, what we'll do is we'll tighten up some of the suggestions from Holly with the company and kind of get some more form presented for consideration.
So it looks like it's, just briefly looking at it, it has an annual renewal. What is,
It's 270 a year, I believe, for the system.
Anybody else? All right, so we'll just put this on a agenda for the future?
Yeah.
All right. Item number 5, recommendation to consider expanding Parks Board oversight role.
On this one, I had a chat with a couple of Parks Board members about 2 weeks ago now, really from concerns in a previous board meeting, to see if they might be interested in an increased oversight role. There seemed to be some openness to that as far as looking into project success, performance management, budgetary input, and things like that. So really I wanted to open the door today to discussions, and pleased to see Valerie came, thank you, to see what direction the board might want that to take. And then I can take some kind of guidance back and play the middle ground between Parks Board and the Board of Alders to generate a more formal proposal and any necessary changes to the governing ordinances as we go forward. But I did see there was appetite as far as providing that additional oversight to help some of the concerns the board had in the previous meeting. I think generally there's appetite for looking into programs, kind of kicking the tires, making sure there's successes, providing input, providing budgetary help, setting goals, priorities, and additional idea I had the scorecards for the finance. We've kind of got to a point where we're about to deliver our last piece of the finance scorecards and reporting. Maybe the parks might be the next target for scorecarding and seeing how program success is going, budget use is going, things like that. So we might include some of that into the proposal with Parks Board support.
Are you still gonna put a alderman on the board?
That's certainly something we can entertain, and we can have those conversations. I suspect they may appreciate having a representative, and it kind of helps bind us further together. But it's part of the discussions we can have.
I would like, if that's the route the board wants to go, a very clear and articulate definition of what oversight means.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that the more ingredients you put in something, the more confusing it gets. And I don't want the Parks Department to have to try to figure out what 5 or 7 or 6 different members want, because then they'll just be chasing their tail. So if that's the direction we go, I want very specific roles and responsibilities and tasks of what if that board's going to have oversight, then we need to know exactly what falls within their domain and then what falls within the domain of the Parks Department executing the roles and the wishes of that board.
And perhaps what might be a better direction is kind of like we do with planning and zoning, maybe we set up a work session and have those discussions with both groups and decide what that looks like. And then I can take some notes and guidance from that and put something together that becomes more formal for consideration. If that's something that you guys would like to do instead.
Isn't that basically what we have set up coming up?
We have a parks meeting
We
that
have
we're
a-
supposed to go to in June.
Joint Parks and BOA meeting.
I think that was to look at the wider thing, but we could use that. We could put that in that same thing. Yeah, I think we
That
were.
was really just gonna be to look at budgeting
Yeah.
and not as in-depth as
Okay.
looking at
But
each
since we're meeting-
individual program, et cetera, but
That might be a
like I
good.
said, if we're gonna be there anyway,
If
we
we're
might as
already
well talk
there,
about
why
that.
don't we
Yeah,
utilize
I
that
think it's a
time?
great idea, so we just add that to that agenda, and, yeah, I think it's a great idea. It would just help me to harness what everybody wants, so we can get it just right the first time.
What are some of your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great idea. To discuss it all. but
No,
I
not
like-
regarding the
I like
meeting, the
idea
increased
of there
oversight.
being very clear
Yeah.
structure, with set, I don't wanna say roles, but basically set roles. I mean, when you look at planning and zoning, there's very clear delineation between the two. And it truly is oversight. Planning and zoning does their thing, and then they bring it to Board of Aldermen. And we do a little bit of back and forth, but for the most part, planning and zoning does their thing. They work with Mike, and they're their own entity. And I think that the board, or the park board oversight should be the same thing. They should have their own set goals, they work together to figure things out. And I think that that would eliminate a lot of the questions, the confusion. I think that if it's set up a lot the same, where Jason is the intermediary, if you will, you know, the park board has everything set up, they work together, they work with Jason, Jason brings to us, and then we work to say yes, no, this is what we suggest in, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, it just escaped me, but you know, to work, instead of that, let's try this, you know, tweak it a little bit, send it back, same concept.
And I think ultimately, the way everything will be set up anyway, the board will always have that final
Yeah.
authority. So just because the board says, we want to do this, it doesn't mean that the
Right.
board of aldermen can't say,
Right.
no, we want to go that way. But yeah, I think including that with that word study is probably the way to go. We'll hash everything out that way. So we'll just add that into the agenda for the work session and see what we come up with.
Jason, did you wanna have any input, or just take the fifth and?
Is the fifth an option?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and you're in a predicament, I mean, I understand completely, you say, no, I really don't, and whatever you guys wanna do is obviously, within your responsibility, so that's fine also. I just wanted to afford you the opportunity.
No, I think, the more eyes and feedback, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. There are more eyes to say what's a good idea, and there are more eyes to say what's a bad idea, and, I think the balance of figuring out what ideas are good and what are bad, I kind of look forward to not having that responsibility of making that decision about, you know, if we're looking at a reduction in services, I would prefer to not be the one that says, we're no longer doing this beloved community program. But I also recognize that, you know, there are constraints in place, so I mean, it's, teamwork makes the dream work.
All right. Anything else?
Can I just say really, really quick, there's 4 represented here from the park board. All 4 of us are, that's all I'm gonna say.
I don't have a problem if you guys have input. Is there anything anybody wants to say?
I think the more information that we can get, the better off we can advise Jason. But I always felt like we were lacking information.
Okay.
So,
Greg?
sorry, Jason.
That's acceptable. That's acceptable feedback. Acceptable feedback.
Yeah, because when I feel like sometimes Jason forgets, he has to answer to you. We're just advisor, he doesn't have to answer us per se. So I also feel left out because he'll forget to bring his stuff. And I tell him about it too, don't I? Jason, why don't I know about the service in town? I don't know anything, so.
No gratitude, you said?
So I like to be more informed about what's going on in the park system than I am now.
But I'd like to
Yes, sir.
agree with you that I think we ought to have clear, specific delineation of what you guys want the park board to do versus you guys do, right? So that we're not fighting each other, communication lines.
I just want it to be an efficient process so that the staff and the director is not, you know,
Right,
going down multiple paths trying to appease everybody.
Micromanage Jason and be, that involved with his day-to-day activities, but, I think it's great that we have more communication back and forth.
Well, thank you. Anybody else while you're here? All right, thank you, everyone. All right, Rebecca, we have a resolution next, item number 6.
A resolution recognizing that the mayor may sign tort exclusions required for renewal of insurance coverage.
Anything on this, or just legal formality?
Yeah, I think it's a formality. I think this is, as I understand it, as we have our umbrella insurance coverage, this excludes certain things from that to avoid litigation that maybe is unnecessary, maybe we're already immune from, that the insurance coverage might otherwise have affected.
And this resolution, do you want to vote on that, Wes?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Alder Billiard?
Yes.
Alder Hill?
Yes.
Alder Keane?
Yes.
Alder Lancaster?
Yes.
Alder Matheson?
Yes.
Alder Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 7.
A resolution
This
recognizing...
is the ordinance we changed, right?
Oh, I
So we move to the ordinance.
apologize. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. An ordinance of the Board of Alders of the City of Willard, Missouri, recognizing an agreement between the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission and the City of Willard, granting the City of Willard Transportation Project funds for a pedestrian underpass at US 160 and Route 80.
Somewhere in here I've written down why we changed it. There we go. So RSMO 70.220, 70.230, the resolution actually was required to be in ordinance form, so we've made the change. You have a copy of the ordinance on your table there. As far as what we're doing here, in a nutshell, the agreement provides for up to $108,000 of federal funds to the City of Willard for the design of a pedestrian underpass at Highway 160 and Route AB, so giving us an additional connectivity between the bank and the school there on the other corner. They're going to engineer most likely a U-shape going out east and coming back in. The federal government will provide 80% of the cost of the engineering for that, up to the 108, and then we're responsible for any ineligible costs and then any overages beyond the amount that we're issued. So what this will allow is for CJW to begin that engineering to see how that looks using some of the TAP funds. Doesn't commit us to doing it, but at least we'll have a plan for if money and funds become available in the future to say, hey, we've got a project we'd like to see if we can get funded as well. So it's just a step in a path for this one.
What did we spend on engineering for the one by McDonald's?
I don't know if we have that one. Do you know that one off the top of your head?
What did we spend for the engineering on the one at McDonald's?
Yeah, no,
Or did
that
we
was
not do
before
that?
my time, but generally engineering's 10 to 15% of the total budget. So I don't,
Did Willard do that one or did MoDOT?
MoDOT. put
MoDOT
that in.
did that one, okay. I thought that was, I thought the city did that one, okay.
Yeah, MoDOT put that in there.
Is it easier for ADA to go under rather than over?
Well, it's gonna be cheaper.
Lot cheaper.
I'll tell you a story about an $8 million bridge that we were quoted in Kansas, and the end price was $300,000, so I give you a
Yeah. It's a lot cheaper.
Bridges look cool, but that's about it.
Talk to the city of Springfield about Jefferson City, or Jefferson Street
Yeah,
Bridge.
that bridge that's
Yeah.
still,
How many hundreds of thousands of dollars that has eaten up? All right, can we get a motion on that?
Make,
go for it.
Oh, this will be a first read, so you.
Oh, is this our first read?
Yeah, this will just be a first read.
All right, my mistake. All right, number 8.
A standard yearly ordinance adopting and enacting the code of ordinances of the city of Willard, including recently passed ordinances. Second read.
And this one will require a vote. As a reminder, this is just to kind of re-up the code for the new administration. Nothing untoward here, just letting us keep the ordinances rolling.
make a motion to approve the ordinance as read. Second.
I have a first and a second. Alder Billiard.
Yes.
Alder Hill.
Yes.
Alder Keane.
Yes.
Alder Lancaster.
Yes.
Alder Matheson.
Yes.
Alder Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 9.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with CJW for services and engineering on Farm Road 103.
So ahead of anticipating growth to our southern area, 103 is already seeing traffic busy. So this is to authorize engineering for conceptual design in a 3-phased approach for 103 from the roundabout down to EE. What that's going to do is it's going to give us an idea of what it might look like so the community can understand what it might look like. It also gives us the ability to, if development starts occurring down there, to maybe drive some of the development for us on the road piece. So that's all this is for. It's, again, engineering is expensive, but you got to start somewhere to keep the progress going, and we do anticipate that will become a north-south corridor for what we have going on. You want to add to that, Mike? Because that sums it up, doesn't it?
No, it's gonna be a real tie between, obviously we need a north-south corridor, but it really ties our east-west together also. It ties our future project with Hughes Road going from AB back to the 160. So it's a real, we feel it's a real key tie for us to get this engineered so we know what we're up against, so we know we can start working towards, phase 1, phase 2, and eventually get that north-south tie. It's really a key arterial for us.
And tying into that, that was what Debbie Iring and Fox Street were talking about last time. This connection between East Granite and Hughes to the police department would alleviate a lot of that additional traffic they see cutting through their neighborhood there. It's basically what they're doing. I mean, you've got a whole collection system coming through, so we're actually trying to get the AB and Hughes to what becomes Granite and to the dead end is only partially designated as a collector road. So we're trying to get it designated from where the collector ends all the way into the future road. That hopefully will create eligibility for future federal funding. So if we have the engineering done as well, it just gives us a little competitive edge when the time comes. Because that's about we've had the engineers give us, a rough guide, about $3 million road at least. So the more funding we can have, the better.
But with the engineering also, you get not only the infrastructure, but you get traffic calming, different things like that, possible roundabout locations.
Yeah.
That will slow things down where currently it's not typically the case. It's typically as fast as they want to go on that road. So.
And that's a great way to start that conversation. At some point, there's going to be community input, so we can actually show this is what this thing looks like. Tying it all together.
Any questions? Not moving on to item number 10.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with CJW for services and engineering on Jackson Street from Perryman to Jefferson.
Mike, you want to tackle that one?
No, absolutely, absolutely. As we brought to you before, this is part of the proposed downtown engineering that will not only enlarge the sidewalk and add ADA accessibility to our current downtown, but it's part of the project that's going to connect our other commercial center by Miller to our old downtown. So this is the final piece of the engineering that we're looking for approval on. And then we'll have all the pieces together that we can choose the right time to get the things started. But I was talking to the mayor earlier about this. We started out with the Jackson Street sidewalk, saying, hey, we need to upgrade the Jackson Street sidewalk, get sidewalk in there for safety, to connect everything. And we were well on our way there until we started dropping some of these other projects in. And these projects directly affect our first project. So now we're at a point where I think they can take the downtown as a whole and say, hey, this is what we have. And now we can move forward with these projects as we see fit. But we started out with the Jackson Street sidewalk connecting Jackson Street from Miller to Main Street. That was our idea, and now we have kind of a downtown plan of what we want the downtown to look like, with some additional parking, with some additional crosswalks and sidewalk and ADA implementations in there. So this is just that final piece that we were talking about, and it goes from Perryman to Jefferson. So it's going to be most of our downtown right there. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Do whatever you can to light a fire under.
Okay, well, I talked to him today, and let him know that the sidewalks are our number one priority, because that's probably the first thing that we're gonna install. So they have their flow capacities and everything like that. They've done the studies, so they should have the numbers to plug in. We should be real close.
Great, thank you. No one else has anything, we'll move on to the next.
An ordinance revising and replacing section 400.510 mixed use of the city code to allow for a mixed use district.
So this being the first read, I appreciate everybody that is able to attend the Joint Planning Commission, Board of Aldermen, where we did go over this ordinance in greater detail. Basically, to sum this up, and we went from an ordinance that had pretty strict guidelines of you will have this percentage of landscaping, you will have this percentage of open space, to more of an ordinance that gives the Planning Commission and the Board of Aldermen a lot of flexibility to go through and work with the developer as he presents his conceptual drawings to the Board of Aldermen and Planning Commission. I can go through this if you'd like, or you guys can choose to, do some home study. Which would you prefer? I'm prepared either way.
We enjoyed the pizza and beverages the last time we discussed it, so.
You know what? All it would have required was an email. That would have been the easiest email ever. Okay. So.
Whatever the board wants to do, we'll do.
What would you prefer? I'm willing to present, or I'm, if you'd rather take some time to read it over, we can do that also. So I'm at your mercy right now.
This is a lot of what we've discussed at that previous meeting, right? We just went through every.
Yeah, this is exactly what we discussed at the previous meeting, but like I said, everybody didn't have the opportunity to be there, so.
Right.
I can go over some high points if you'd like, and then you can.
And not having a discussion today doesn't prevent you having a discussion at the second read.
That's absolutely true. But the more discussion we have today, the less likelihood I have to buy steaks for everybody, so.
Unless they some gates to throw things.
I think we need to discuss this further.
You need some gratitude pizza, do you? All right. So I'll go over some high points on what's changed and what has stayed the same. Basically, a mixed-use zone is a rezone. So a PD is a developer that can come in and they can do a zoning overlay over any zone, and you can do a planned development district. A mixed use is a rezone, and in our future use plan, it shows where the citizens would like to have mixed use. So in order to use the mixed use zone, it has to be on that future use plan, or to go concurrently, I should say. So in order to do your rezone and your conceptual plan at the same time, it has to be zoned that way on the future use plan. If it's not zoned that way on the future use plan, you have to do them separately. So there will be a split in the process right there. And that's a change. One of the other big changes is because of the detail that's going into this plan. All of our other plans, they go before the Planning Commission, Board of Aldermen, you have a preliminary plat. Go before the Planning Commission, Board of Aldermen, you have a final plat. On the mixed use and PD zones, with the information that we're asking them to present to the boards and everything like that, it will be a one-time visit. It will go to the Planning Commission, it will get approved, it will go to the Board of Aldermen. If it's approved, they can go through and they can install that development as it was approved by the board. So, but the details, and I'll let you take a look at that on your own, so I don't have to read, but item Q lists all the details that they're required to submit. And if something's there that, that doesn't satisfy the Board of Aldermen or the Planning Commission, they absolutely can come in and say, hey, what about this? We'd like to see this. And just because it's such a tight turnaround, we want all the information up front. We want you guys to be able to digitally walk down the neighborhood streets and see what the neighborhood would look like on that piece of property. So that's a huge change, where they're only coming before you once. And we had some concerns with the Planning Commission where, well, what happens if they go against what was approved? Well, if they went against a landscaping plan and they didn't put the tree in the right place, that can be resolved with administration. We can deal with that. But if they moved a street and added 3 lots, they have to come back before the Planning Commission and the Board of Aldermen to figure things out. So what's approved is approved, and there's not a whole lot of leeway for them to go either way. That's what's been approved. So open space, I tried to get away from the numbers. I tried to get away from, hey, you will have 30% open space of your development, because if you have a downtown lot that you're trying to do mixed use in, and they don't have 30% to give away for open space. So I left that requirement open-ended with some caveats to provide greater flexibility. It doesn't absolve them of the open space requirements or the landscaping requirements or the buffering requirements, but it gives them the flexibility to show you how they're gonna do that without saying, hey, sorry, you're 19%, you need to get 20. It gives them a little bit more flexibility. Same thing with parking.
Before you go to parking, can I back up where you have building coverage?
Absolutely.
If you are tight with, like you just mentioned, on open space being downtown.
Yep.
What about building coverage? Where it's at 40%?
Building coverage is tricky. If you're at 40% of a lot,
Right.
and you're commercial, I still think you're in good shape.
Right.
I can take that off, because generally commercially you're required to have parking, fire lanes, different things like that, which is gonna take up generally more than the building, is the parking and stuff. I have taken our parking section out of the mixed use, where it's not regulated by Title IX, Section 9, because I think we overdo parking a lot. Just drive by a Walmart at, 11 o'clock in the morning and see how many parking spaces are out there. And just look at Google Maps at any time of the day on any commercial location. I think we waste a lot of area on asphalt that's not necessarily needed. So, I'm a big proponent of joint parking agreements, different things like that allow for parking, but not to go overboard. So, what would you prefer on the,
Well, I'm not sure, that's probably a good topic of discussion, but as you'd mentioned, being downtown, those lots aren't very big,
correct?
and there's also limited parking.
Yep.
So how do you determine,
A lot of that's gonna be what style we're looking for.
Right.
With the mixed use, you have the ability to go zero lot line. So if I wanted to put, hey, I have a 10-foot sidewalk on the front and my building is going right there and then my parking is gonna go behind, this allows for them to do that.
yeah,
What I'm saying, and maybe I take the 40% out, but I think it's a good guideline to have.
a good guideline maybe for a discussion, as where you have another where it goes before the board.
Correct, and maybe I go through and I say on the housing, it kind of like the height restriction. You can't go over 40 unless specifically defined in your
Right,
plan, and that might be
defined and approved.
Yeah, so that might be a good guideline unless specifically defined in your plan as different. It's the same as the height. You can't go above 35 feet unless it was approved in your plan.
It can change,
Correct.
but it has to be approved.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
I like that.
okay, I will make that change for sure on that.
As long as there's room to wiggle, it's good.
One thing that had not changed in the mixed use is the recreation area. Recreation, they require 200 square feet per residence or apartment. So if you have 400 units in, 400 times 200 square feet, and they will have a minimum of that recreation area in their development. And that's a change from the PD, and I'll be bringing that before you here shortly. Setbacks, like I said, we talked about setbacks quite extensively in the planning commission. We went from shalls to mays because, it can change. And we want this ordinance to be flexible to work on a downtown area and a subdivision if needed. So, we do require a traffic study on all mixed use developments. I did want something in there to kind of measure things. So we do have development goals where you can go in and say, hey, does this development meet the intent and the goals set forth by the mixed use? And those are promoting efficient land use, enhancing community and social interaction, and supporting sustainable development. And if there's anything else you feel strongly that needs to be added, please contact me, email me, ask me for some gratitude pizza, we'll go out for lunch, whatever you need to do. But I definitely like to get your input on that. Bonus density basically stays the same. What bonus density is they start out with our minimum zoning, which is 3 houses per acre, and then they have to work up to their lot sizes. So, I don't have a minimum lot size, we took that out. We can rely on the planning commission and developer. I mean, if a developer wants to come in and go down to 5,000 square foot lots, they can do that, but that's gonna be a lot of infrastructure that we're getting back, landscaping and trails and pocket parks and different things like that. And that doesn't mean his whole development will be at 5,000 square feet, but he would qualify for some of those lots. So, but we talked about, and this one's for Holly, she's gonna love this. We talked about a recreation donation, whether monetary or services, somewhere else. If they don't have the land for a recreation donation and everything like that, but we can prove that the development has an effect on our parks and they can donate to our parks to put something in to help that out. We have that in here. And probably the last thing I defined was the certified developer. I had it in the mixed use before, but this kind of defines it. And what that is if they come in and the Board of Aldermen deems them to be a quality development with mixed use and design, interconnectivity, active transportation, open space, landscaping, recreation areas, we'll help them out on the back end. We'll expedite permitting, we'll expedite inspections, different things like that that will help the developer streamline things on the back end, saving them time, which in cases saving them money also. So.
Was anything decided where, I think one of your questions was where you had mentioned they could donate it to something other?
Correct.
That's what we talked about.
Was there a time limit?
There wasn't a time limit. There is just, we have to show that the project we put the money for,
And that's the word we used.
it was,
I think we said earmark.
well, it was earmarked, but you had to show the development affected that area.
Right.
Like, so if the development was coming in and everything like that, and we had a section of pipe that needed upgraded for that development to go and everything like that. Yeah, we have to show that they directly affected it.
Right.
So it's not a bribe for the city to come in and you know, I shouldn't say that word in a public meeting. It's not a slush fund for the.
Is that one any better?
His eyebrows just went straight up.
Holly's shaking her head.
Holly, maybe you should sit next to him instead of hitting me all the time. Go hit mine.
So it's
Holly, you've missed that.
But it can't be built for future use on projects that may or may not.
correct.
That's
So if
better.
you were gonna put bathrooms at, is it Miller Park, the
Correct.
frisbee place? Okay, if you were gonna put bathrooms there,
Yeah, and so if they were making a recreation donation for a recreation, bathrooms at Miller Park, and they didn't have enough space on their development to meet the recreation requirement, we could absolutely tie that money to a recreation area or somewhere else. because
Showing that, the impact of that.
It's
resource
directly
from
showing their impact on parks, yeah. So,
so if they took that old, what used to be a barn, I don't even think it's there, and they developed that across from Miller Park, you know it's gonna impact Miller Park, right?
yeah,
So then they could say, oh, we're gonna put bathrooms there for you, or whatever.
sure,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry to muddy the waters.
But I'm gonna pick
That was embarrassing. All right. So, this being the first read, feel free to go through it with a fine tooth comb. Send me over suggestions on what you'd like to see. If, you need a cold beverage and it's a hot day, let me know. I'm always up for a cold beverage, so. But, any questions, comments? Especially concerns about bribery?
No, I think you covered it very well. Moving on.
Okay.
No concerns, we'll take the drink, the steak, and there is no bribery.
All right.
All right, thank you for the first reading. Next section, city administrator remarks.
Can I skip one section for a minute? We've got two folks here about a city closure permit. I don't want them to feel held hostage to my remarks.
Oh, I did that.
I thought you
I
wanted
had
to
that in the
say,
next
but-
section. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's do them first. if you
Sure.
don't mind. We've received a request from Rachel, and I'm not sure I know.
Taylor.
Taylor, okay. They would like to close their street for a Freedom Fest block party. We didn't have a process for that, so I've kind of followed I know you're not supposed to talk about your form, but every now and then I have to rely on it. So we had a process where they could submit a request, the board would consider it, if they approved it, then we could direct Public Works to put up a sign, police department, the street was closed, and kind of notify the community that, hey, FYI, the street is closed. In this case, their piece of street is a cul-de-sac that only affects the people that are involved in the party, if I understand right. So it's not going to cause a huge hardship to anybody unless they get to the street sign and have to back up a little bit and turn around. So with your approval, they would like to shut the street down between 2 and 10 on June 28th, 2 p.m., 10 p.m. and then just like 2 barricades put up so that people know the street is closed.
Where's the party and what are you cooking?
And are all the
It's
neighbors
South
on
Street,
board
so
with
just
it?
come over.
Are all the other neighbors on board with it?
Yes, so we talked to all the neighbors, Taylor and I both live on the street, our other neighbors on the cruise right now, but yes, everybody has been, like, and they all come, so, yeah.
All right.
I think it's fantastic, I love it, I love the idea of community that
Yeah.
brings about, I think it's great. Joyce is rolling her eyes at me.
I'm with her husband. Thomas to party,
All right, so you want a motion for this, Wes?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do it.
I'll make a motion that we close the street and have a party.
I'll second that one.
I have a first and a second. Alder Beelier.
Yes.
Alder Hill.
Yes.
Alder King.
Yes.
Alder Lancaster.
Yes.
Alder Matheson.
Yes.
Alder Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Temporarily closing the street, right?
Come see us for Freedom Fest, South Street.
Careful what you ask for.
Hey.
We're there.
Can we breathe fire? I'll be there.
Okay, you are committed.
You're in charge of
Thank you
fireworks.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm up for fun sometimes,
Yeah.
Stacy, come on.
Okay.
Okay, Wes, go ahead with
Back
that.
to me then.
Administrative remarks.
So I wanted to give you a heads up, Southwest Missouri Water, that's the Stockton Lake stuff that you kind of having reintegrate Willard into the project. I've had Cochrane review it, they've been studying our water, they kind of know a little bit about what's going on. Their recommendation is that we do consider signing on formally to the project. We have, in about 40 years, I know it seems like a long time for us, but about 700,000 million gallons per day shortage. This provides maybe 400,000. So it will provide a significant supply of water for Willard in our distant future for a very low cost. Sounds like a oil salesman, doesn't it? We're able to sign on to this thing, and I can bring the more formal stuff, but the important bit I think is Roddy from Southwest Missouri has agreed to come and represent. He did say he presented before. I told him you guys are all basically new, so it would do you no good to have that presentation. So he's very willing, very excited to come, explain what this thing is, explain what it will do for Willard. There will of course be challenges as far as, you know, how do we treat the water, what do we do with the water, how do we get the water here. Cochrane did provide some suggestions that, you know, other communities are already clamoring to buy the rights to water that have already been signed. So I mean, from one aspect, we have a potential sale opportunity. Another suggestion they had was Springfield treats the water and sells it to us at wholesale. So these are all things that we can entertain. They are problems for a future Willard. The important bit is we do secure some water storage that we know the future Willard will need. And that becomes a challenge that maybe in time we will address before we get there, or maybe not. But if you're okay with it, I have him scheduled to come in first meeting in June to explain it. As I say, he had tasked me with kind of getting this back into this thing, so in order to get signed up in time, we would need to consider a first read and second read in June. They would need us locked in by July to meet the Army Corps of Engineers deadline. So wanted you to be aware that that's coming. Had a radio interview today about the new water board. That seemed to go well. Aaron came later this week. And as a reminder, the first advisory board meeting will be June 4th at 5:30. We wanted to report some additional infrastructure issues with Looney Underground. We're currently seeking to pull that performance bond to get some of that stuff taken care of. We've reached out to MediaCom's government relations to try and figure out a way through the impasse. That's been challenging. And then I wanted to just bring up concerns on social media about the 6.6% convenience fees. We know it's high. We agree it's high. We agree it's awful. It is completely avoidable. they charge us, we have to charge them. It was discussed in the January 13th meeting. They did confirm, you know, we can't bear that cost for the customer. If they want to pay by card, they have to pay the fee. Happy to encourage a little social disobedience. If they don't want to pay by cash, money order, credit card is not going to be an option if they want to avoid that fee. Maybe if enough people start paying by credit card, the card company will go, uh-oh, and they may revisit it. But we don't have an option. We're locked into it. If we want real-time payments and if we want support, which we needed last week, the system was out and kaput, and there's no way we could have fixed that. So I did ask Carolyn to just kind of give us a rough idea of revenue from the card fees is $35,918. Expenses related to credit card fees is $43,082, so there's definitely no profit there. The difference there is we were a little behind because we had fees accumulated when they bumped it up to 12% on us. So we will catch up, but we will not break even this year, but we anticipate we are breaking even, which is what we're supposed to do. So there's definitely no massive profit going into the utility fund from the credit card fees. I just wanted to assure you all of that and kind of get the word out. And that is that. And then I'll just add before you go to close, it'll only be for real estate, since the personnel and the legal and not urgent, we won't add those tonight, just to keep us on track while we're
Alright, so we need to make a motion to open the closed, it's in the wrong order here. Recess the open session and open the closed session pursuant to RSMO section 610.021, subsection 2 for real estate and subsection, I'm not sure what, for personnel
Just
and.
real estate.
Nope,
Just real estate.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, we're snipping the others.
Since it wasn't on there, we're going to cut it.
Well, I had it written down.
You were prepared
I was
regardless.
prepared.
I appreciate it.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Alder Villiers.
Yes.
Alder Hill.
Yes.
Alder King.
Yes.
Alder Lancaster.
Yes.
Alder Matheson.
Yes.
Alder Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
We adjourn this meeting.
All right, and then can we adjourn by just
Just say,
aye?
all in favor, say aye.
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 Yeah, we don't have to have that.
Thank you, everyone.